At the current rate of transformation, it will take about 200 years for the global asset management industry to reach gender parity. The pace is glacial, and there are simply not enough women being included into the high-powered industry of finance. This is according to the Citywire Alpha Female Report of 2020. Gia Whitehead, who's the CEO of the TSIBA Business School, joins us to unpack this. Gia, one would think that given transformation in other facets of life, particularly when it comes to the inclusion of women, such as in politics, such as in various other sectors of business, and having seen very powerful women lead asset management firms, lead hedge funds, and lead global institutions like banks, one would have assumed that would have trickled down over the years. Why has it not?
Yeah, so I think in this, unfortunately, there is still extreme inequalities, after all these years, especially when it comes to women in positions of leadership in the finance space. Women are still noticeably unrepresented. And so, and particularly in the finance industry, it's one of the most influential industries globally. And because it's responsible for allocating resources, managing risk, and creating opportunities for businesses and individuals. But I think to remain effective, we need to be more diverse and inclusive. And that means giving women a voice and a seat at the table.
What does the literature and the research tell us about the path women take when deciding on further education? For instance, there's been strong emphasis, particularly in the global south, about getting women into the STEM field, making sure that early childhood mathematics and science education is geared up towards including women and girl children to be able to attract those sort of opportunities. Why has the finance sector not been able to do exactly the same as the STEM sector?
Absolutely. And so, so I think it's really important to add to your qualifications.
And where do they begin doing that?
So I'm coming from one educational institution that is doing a lot of work to really transition people from unemployability into active economic participation. And TSIBA, we are doing that by going back into levels of literacy and numeracy. And it's absolutely critical that people upskill and focus on the knowledge first, so that they can play a role in changing that landscape for futures, and not just for themselves, but for the future of their families. So obtaining, other than, doing more of the quantitative subjects at school and maths and science, and then moving into degrees that focus on business or economics or applied finance and adding to those skills. But on top of that, what's really important is building attitude and being able to be agile in the changing world, because these days knowledge is not everything. It's a lot about building self-confidence, who you are, understanding what your purpose is, and sort of breaking down those barriers of stereotypes by strengthening that knowledge and skills in many ways, in experiential ways too.
Yeah. Are we investing enough globally in early childhood education, very specifically for women in finance-related roles? No,
there's still a lot of work to be done. I think what's really important, other than investing in that space, is also creating role models for young children and families and women wanting to move into these spaces. So providing opportunities where they can see themselves moving forward and seeing how other people just like themselves from different difficult backgrounds can actually make it. And that's hugely valuable. So support structures, role models of other women, mentoring, networking, and just opening eyes to what's out there.
Yeah. How important are forums like the Women in Finance Conference that the TSIBA Business School that you're with is planning on hosting? Forums that bring together women from diverse backgrounds. They're able to have conversations about the barriers they face in the sector. How important are those forums if it's not associated with policymakers and decision makers in the rooms as well?
So I think you've got to start somewhere. I think it's incredibly important to have conversations to confront these preconceptions, also look at the role of, gender equality, and also ESG in career choices. And women need to take steps to change the policies, to stand up to the decision makers and those other big players that you mentioned. We need to bring diverse perspectives together. We need to show how women actually improve performance in senior positions when they get there. And we need to just focus on attracting talent, building and showing how we can, as a collective, as a community, whether it's from an NGO space, education, business, and public, work together to sustainably change, that landscape for the future.
Yeah. You want to tell us about the Women in Finance conference that the TSIBA Business School is planning?
Thank you. So we had an event on Wednesday this last week, and we'll do more into the future. What it was bringing together women in the financial education sector and business, and just speaking about initiatives that empower individuals from financial literacy to what's happening in the workplace, and showing, what's happening in asset management, investments, and finance industries, but the role that women play and how critical it is for them to build confidence, remove those feelings of inadequacy, also realize the work-life balance that many women are trying to push to break those glass ceilings and make those shifts. And it was just a beautiful, powerful conversation where we're starting with, at heart around purpose of who these women are and what they've been able to do to change that.
Yeah, Gia Whitehead, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. That's the CEO of the TSIBA Business School.